Hmm. Okay. Yeah, so let's begin. And if people trickle in, I'll let them in. But for right now, we have a good group, nice good group, New Jersey, Staten Island, Austin, and Brooklyn. Yeah, so welcome everybody. So for starting out, this is a talk that I've titled Financial Freedom, Building a Path to Prosperity with Heart and Purpose. And I decided to do this talk because as I've gotten more and more and expanded into the community, I'm learning and I'm noticing that finance is an area that some people are struggling with, whether it's saving money, eliminating debt, or just getting comfortable with money and such. So this talk is going to address some of those things that I've been seeing and experiencing out in the field. So to start, I'd like to say I'm not a certified or licensed financial advisor nor planner. The information presented here comes from my own life experience, my own investing, trading, budgeting, my own story with debt, everything. The information shared here comes from my own research, readings, and all of my experience, from techniques and skills to whatever it is I might mention. So anything that you gather here is to be taken as informational, educational. Nothing is direct advice. So who am I, right? Who is this guy talking to us about finance and prosperity? Well, to start, I'm a native New Yorker and I grew up working class. My father was a yellow cab taxi driver, and my mother uh, worked at flea markets on weekends. I personally was broke until the age of 28. After that, I began to gain traction and success as a producer, entrepreneur, and consultant in the commercial film industry. Later on, I co-founded a nonprofit that successfully created a labor union for the film industry. So, here's just like a little glimpse of my old life. I got to work with the Walking Dead special effects people. This is me in Los Angeles at Paramount Studios during the peak of COVID. And I had the great opportunity to work with Dave Chappelle, a real pleasure. Things are a lot different for me today since then. Um, I've transitioned. I have a new career. I founded a organization called Brooklyn Balance that focuses on psychedelic integration coaching. And that element of coaching is beginning to expand into different areas such as finance. I continue to do consulting. I have a lot of freedom in my life, and I'm strategic about the future and finding ways to adapt to change. So I studied with TAM integration. I've studied with maps. This was my class. Um, and when I say I have freedom, it's I I have the freedom to choose what I want to do, where I want to be, when I want to do it, and who with for not everything, a lot of things though. So to start out, I want to point out the messaging of any area of your life where you feel lack or insecurity, you are likely to compromise yourself. So, in the topic of money, if you feel lack of money, if you feel insecure with money, you're likely to compromise yourself in a way which doesn't serve you. So, have you or anyone you know ever said, I want to fall in love, but they need to be rich? I'm looking for a partner. He needs to be able to travel. That type of work thing is below me. I stay connected to them to still be in their will. I know it's not ideal, but it's what pays the bills. If someone growing up prioritizing money over integrity and authenticity, it often is influenced by messages they received from their upbringing, right? From their environment, from their parents, from their teachers, from their friends. These messages might have emphasized the importance of financial success, appearance, competition, sometimes at the expense of values like honesty, acceptance, and genuine connection. Here's some things you may have heard growing up. Money doesn't grow on trees, so you better figure out how to make it. It's not what you love, it's about what pays the bills. Success is the only thing that matters. Nobody cares how you get there. Never settle for less than what you want, no matter what it takes. If someone isn't successful, they're not worth your time. You have to keep up appearances. What will people think? You can't afford to trust people. Everyone's out for themselves. We can't afford to make mistakes. There's no safety net. So if you've heard something like that, or if that resonates with you, put a put like a sad face emoji in the chat, or even a one, anything that resonates with you. Yeah. So these words, thoughts, and feelings deeply impact the subconscious and lead people into challenging situations like taking on too much debt, for example. Right? Someone might say, I need to keep up with appearances. I'm going to spend money I don't have to do so. So, if we look at things like today, right? Because every day is a new opportunity to change things. So whether you're a dancer, a psychedelic facilitator, a sex worker, the reality is that we live in a capitalist society, and we can choose to play the game or be played by the game. So playing the game might feel uncomfortable, or it even might be counter to your values. But understanding the rules of the system can actually empower us to navigate it on our own terms rather than being controlled by it. So it's not about selling out or compromising your beliefs. It's about creating a foundation of financial security that allows you to live more fully in alignment with your values and your purpose. So when you have control over your finances, you gain the freedom to say yes to opportunities and no to exploitation, and to use your resources to create the kind of world you want to see for yourself. Whether your purpose is to bring beauty into the world through dance, to guide others through transformation, or to heal the wounds of sexuality and intimacy, financial stability can amplify your impact. So the question is, how can we approach money not as an enemy, but as an ally in the life and work and do the work that we're meant to do? So debt, so when it comes to debt, understand that debt is emotional and psychological. Society constructs, encourages, and preys on those in debt. And I just want to pause here. You know, if you can relate to having debt at any point in your life, or especially now, just put an emoji in the chat so those here can understand if that's just something that that is in the field. Yeah, right. So that can feel like an invisible weight we carry every day. it doesn't just sit on our credit card statements. It can creep into our thoughts, our emotions, and even our sense of self-worth. Many of us feel shame around debt as though it defines us or reflects some kind of failure. But debt is just a circumstance, not a reflection of your values as a person. Letting go of that shame is a big step towards healing your relationship with money. So when it comes to understanding debt more, if you think about it, debt is like unresolved emotional baggage. Avoiding it might feel easier in the short term, but over time, it builds up and creates more discomfort. So addressing it step by step is a way to clear that energy, right? And move forward with clarity and empowerment because it's all just an energy. It's just we got to move it. So, in the various communities that we're a part of here, many of us have chosen paths that are about service, transformation, artistry. Often those paths don't come with predictable incomes or financial security. So if you identify as being self-employed, if you live paycheck to paycheck or you're a gig worker, task rabbit, you have your own LLC or your own company, drop like a thumbs up in the chat. And if you've taken on debt to survive, grow, or invest in your purpose, give yourself compassion. Debt may be part of your story, but it's not the end of it. So for me, I've been self-employed almost all my life. I've never had a full-time job. Great, we have a few self-employed people here. And so what can be of value is reframing your relationship with debt. So instead of seeing debt as a mountain to climb, try seeing it as a teacher. It's here to show you where you've been, where you are, and where you're ready to grow. So facing it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It can be a deeply empowering process. So for example, I had student loan debt for a really long time, and that was a reminder for me that I went to college, that I got an education, that I gained skills, tools, resources, had a portfolio of things to go out into the world and say, this is what I did. And what I recognize now is that I won't, I wouldn't say the word debt for it. I would say that was an investment. And that was just some money. Yeah, it's like we call it debt. And that time, that money was an investment in my future. So imagine your debt, right? If you drop in and if invitation to just close your eyes or soft gaze to the ground, if that feels good to you, and just picture yourself carrying a heavy rock. And it could be in your hands, it could be on your back, and just imagine yourself walking with it. How does that feel, right? And if you can picture yourself putting it down, not all at once, but just 1 pound here, 1 pound there, 3 pounds here, it gets lighter and lighter. If you can imagine that for yourself, right? And eventually, if you can imagine yourself just eventually letting it all go, each step that you put down, it opens you up to possibilities. So just breathe into that. Yeah, moving on. Addressing debt clears energetic and mental clutter, allowing you to fully show up in your work with others or your own growth. When you start taking steps to address debt, even small ones, it's like reclaiming a part of yourself that the stress has taken away. Every payment, every plan you do to create is a step towards your freedom, both financially and emotionally. So consider that the mind and its drive for happiness, right? And so, we're constantly seeking out short-term pleasure. It's like, oh, I'm done doing something. I'm going to check social media. I'm going to see what that person's up to, or I want a piece of chocolate now. And so, like, chocolate, I was just at an ashram last week and they kept talking about chocolate. And so, you get this craving. You're like, oh, I want it now. And you go to a refrigerator and you get chocolate and you get that sensation, you get the pleasure, you get this short moment of happiness. And so, you know, if you tune in to what's behind that craving, what's behind that short-term pleasure, or if there's an impulse that will help serve you for the future, or asking yourself, will this serve me for the future? Is this impulse of buying that, like at the Trader Joe's, they have all the chocolate before you get to the cash register. Is that going to serve you for the long term and your goals? And so starting to think about long term and starting to think about goals, you know, when it comes to money, when it comes to finance, saving. Saving is a really critical part of it. So saving isn't about hoarding money. It's about creating a solid foundation that gives you the freedom to live your purpose. So whether you're a dancer, a facilitator, someone navigating deep inner work, savings are what allow you to say yes to opportunities and no to things that don't serve you, right? So it's like, someone's like, hey, do you want to work and do this thing on Friday? And you really want to go to that dance class Friday morning, but you really need the money. And so when there's more sense of abundance, we can maintain a baseline, have more flexibility to go and do those dance classes that we want to do. Saving is an act of self-love. So every dollar you save is a message to yourself. It's simply something like, I care about my future. I value my stability. Think of saving as a sacred act of self-care. It's you protecting your energy and creating space for what truly matters in your life. Supporting your purpose. The way you can save can reflect your values and dreams. If you're a healer, saving might mean investing in trainings that deepen your skills. If you're an artist, it means creating a safety net that allows you to take creative risks without financial fear, right? If you're an artist, hey, I was offered to go to a residency for 1 month and, there's like money's kind of a thing. And if you have savings, you'll have more opportunity, more ability to go to that residency. Start small, build consistency. You don't need to start with big numbers. Small, consistent habits build over time. Even saving $10 a week, $20 a week adds up. The key is consistency, which builds not just from your savings, but from your trust in prioritizing your future, right? So it's, Christmas time comes up and it's like, oh, I need to buy gifts for all these people. And one might go and spend, say, $500 on gifts. And that's like a short-term in the moment thing. And yes, it's showing care and appreciation for the person you gave it towards. And where might it take away from what you're trying to build for yourself? Think of savings as a way to create emotional peace. When you have a financial buffer, you're less likely to make decisions out of fear or scarcity. Instead, you can approach life, work, and relationships from a place of calm and clarity. And, to add to this, it's allowing one to be in integrity. Am I going to take on this new client that's offering to pay me a new money, but they're going to drive me crazy and stress me out? Or can I just say no and just not deal with that stress? It will allow for having more sense of control over where you put your energy, who you work with, when and where. From a spiritual perspective, saving isn't about restriction, it's about creating a balanced flow of energy. You're not just spending outward, you're holding some of that energy inward, giving yourself a reserve to draw from when you need it most. So, if you take a moment and imagine your future self calm, secure, and empowered with savings that support your dreams and align your purpose, what does that vision look like? How does it feel to know you have the freedom and security to live your truth? Right? So just taking a breath into that. What is freedom for you? What is security for you to live your truth? And what does the future version of you look like for you? Framing. Instead of, I can't afford that, you could try saying, I'm choosing to prioritize other financial goals right now. I'll save up for that and make it happen. That's not in my budget right now, but I can plan for it in the future. I'm so bad with money. Drop an emoji in the chat if you've said that or if you know of anyone that said that. Does that resonate with you? Yeah, thank you for sharing. Right? So a framing we might be able to tell ourselves, or we can tell ourselves, is I'm learning to manage my money better every day. I'm becoming more mindful of my financial habits. I'm improving my financial skills step by step. And so I'll say here, it's words are important. Somebody kind of the other day gave as like an order, said to me, can you sit down? And I looked at them and I said, I can, and I will. And I wasn't trying to be, it wasn't antagonistic. I do have the ability to sit. And, I wanted it to be consensual. So, for me to feel in consent, it would be, hey, man, will you sit down? Will you take a seat and wait for this person? Rather than, can you sit down? And so, noticing that when someone says things to you, and if you're able to notice those words, and if they impact you or make you feel a certain way, how can you look at those words, move them around, or change the words in a way that will serve you and your mind and your subconscious? I'll never get out of debt. I just have too much debt. Try, I'm taking active steps to reduce my debt. Every payment I make gets me closer to financial freedom. I have a plan and I'm sticking to it to become debt free. Saving money is too hard. I'm finding creative ways to make saving money easier. I'm developing new habits that support my savings goals. Every little bit I save brings me closer to my goals. I can't save because I don't make enough money. Try. I'm finding ways to save even with a limited income. I'm exploring ways to increase my income and build savings. I'm discovering new strategies to make saving possible, no matter my circumstances. I'll never be able to retire. And that's something I said too, maybe even like 10 years ago. I was like, New York City's getting really expensive and all this stuff. And I might say today, I'm starting small, but I'm making progress toward retirement savings. I'm working on building a plan that will allow me to retire comfortably. Every step I take now brings me closer to financial independence. I don't have enough money to enjoy life. I'm finding ways to enjoy life that doesn't cost much or are free. I'm grateful for the things I can enjoy within my budget. I'm working towards a future where I can enjoy even more of life's experiences. And this is a real thing for New York City because it's like, you know, it's like $9 to have a oat milk matcha latte right now, or a coffee to go to any cafe. It's like, hey, meet me for lunch. It's like everyone's shelling out 50 bucks. And that can feel disconcerting. And that's the reality is New York City is an expensive city. And our mindset on how we view it or where we're, what we're looking at, we can really work with that. So I might say like, hey, I enjoy a matcha latte and I choose for that to be this day, this time, and like once a week. That's when I enjoy it. And aiming for it not to like be cheap, right? It's just being within reason, being within scope of what is realistic. Money stresses me out. Who does that resonate with? Does money stress anyone here out? Drop an emoji in the chat. Maybe like the dollar bill or like the teeth clenching thing. I'm learning to feel more at ease with my finances. I'm developing a healthier relationship with money. I'm taking control of my finances one step at a time. Right, yeah, a few people. So, moving forward and building wealth with purpose, right? Money's hard. Money's a thing. We have programming that has gotten us into certain situations. And there's opportunity to move forward and get ourselves out of it or change the way we look at things. So building wealth doesn't have to mean accumulating money for the sake of it. It's about aligning your financial resources with your values, purpose, and long-term goals. So for me, growing up, I got my first paycheck for like, I don't know, $40 one week. And my grandpa was like, you got to put it in the bank. You got to put it in the bank. And I was like, I'm not putting it in the bank. I'm going to go buy some video games with it. And that's what I did. I bought a lot of video games. And I was like, I don't know, 12, 13 years old. I started working when I was like really young. And today, if I could go back in time and tell Josh, like, hey, all right, listen, go buy a video game, but every other paycheck, save it or do something with it to help your money grow, things would be pretty different, but I might not be here. And, as I got older and as I started to gain a different perspective on life and where and how to spend money and where to put it, it made me think more about the long term and the future. So, wealth is not about greed or excess. It's about creating a solid foundation to amplify your values and impact. It's about having the resources to to live in alignment with your purpose, support the people and causes you care about, and say yes to opportunities that align with your truth. Right? So it's like, for example, maybe you're asked to go travel upstate to put on a performance. If you're a dancer, there's like a special thing you're gonna do and a special performance you're gonna do. And it doesn't really pay, but you're gonna have fun. It's for a good cause. It's a performance at the senior center with all these senior citizens that just need entertainment. They just got out of COVID and they're really eager for connection and excitement. You can choose to go and be in service to something like that or any other various opportunity that might come up. Imagine wealth as a tool that empowers you to step fully in your role as a creator, healer, or guide. So, with financial security, you're free to make choices based on alignment and integrity, not fear or scarcity. You can invest in your growth, your community, or your art without any hesitation. So, when it comes to wealth as a reflection of values, when building wealth intentionally, it can reflect your deepest values, right? So, might mean supporting community initiatives or mutual aid, funding projects that heal or uplift others. So, every year, come May, the Five Rhythms community asks for donations for the dance parade. And every year I'm like, yes, I want to donate towards this. This is something that really uplifts my community and brings so much joy to people in New York City. And it's something I'm able to chip into. That's being intentional. Investing in ethical, sustainable businesses that align with your beliefs, right? So choosing where to put your money, right? I'm donating towards this cause. I'm investing in this person that's trying to do this thing. I'm investing in that stock because I like what they're doing and they have a high ESG score. So that makes me feel good about that. They value labor unions over that company, so I'm going with that company. Wealth becomes a means of living your values, not compromising them. And then there's power of starting early, investing early, getting a jump on things as soon as you can. So investing is one of the most effective ways to build wealth over time. Even small, consistent contributions can grow significantly through the power of compound interest. For example, starting with $50 or $100 a month in a simple index fund in the market can create a financial cushion that grows while you focus on your purpose. Building wealth doesn't always have to require more work. Look for opportunities to create passive income streams aligned with your skills and passions, such as hosting workshops, online courses, selling art, guided meditations, ebooks, licensing your expertise in ways that can generate ongoing income. So, Tasha Blank became a very popular powerhouse DJ in the community. And she went and started a school that teaches powerhouse DJing. And like licensing her branding for that. I look at that as a really great way of generating ongoing income. These streams give you financial freedom while letting you focus on what you love most, right? So this has been set up. It's generating me X amount of income. Now I have more freedom and spaciousness to do some other things that can help other people. Diversification and resilience, right? So wealth is not just about accumulation. It's about resilience, bouncing back. So diversifying your income and investments ensures you have stability even when the unexpected happens. This can mean splitting your efforts between active income, right, services or performances, investments, or creating multiple streams of income. From a spiritual perspective, wealth can be about creating balance and flow, right? So, to go back to like what I said in the beginning, wherever we feel a lack of, we're going to sacrifice things in different ways. So, where are things in various parts of your life out of balance? When it comes to finances, when you're more financially secure, you're less likely to operate from a place of fear, scarcity, and able to show up fully for the work and relationships that matter most to you. One can come from a place of overflow rather than depletion. And so, when it comes to being self-employed, making sure one doesn't get burned out. I need to keep working. I need to keep working. I need to go, oh, more money here, more money there, or I don't have enough, where it's just the nervous system goes in a state of overload, right? And so if we can find ourselves in a balanced place or move into more of a balance, even just 10%, we can get a grasp on things better and operate from overflow. So some practical steps to build wealth. Set up automatic transfers to an investment or savings account, even if it's just $25 a month, $5 a month. Every little bit matters. The consistency is the most important part, right? So taking realistic, actionable steps. If your paycheck is $200 a week and you're realistically know you can stash away $50 of that each week, do it. If you feel stress in your body, it's like, oh no, that's a lot, then taper it down. Hey, you know what? $10 a week. Cool. Choose aligned investments. Research ethical and socially responsible investments, options that reflect your values. Many funds focus on sustainability, renewable energy, or community growth. Explore financial literacy, resources that resonate with you, whether it's books, podcasts, or courses designed for creative or spiritual entrepreneurs. And get reliable information. So I've been reading Kiplinger for about 10 years. It is a magazine that is intended for boomers, people or, older people that are like getting close to retirement. And I do that because it gives really good information, reliable, credible, researched, fact-checked information as to what are good steps and where we are now in the world. If you're getting your information from TikTok, oh man, like sayonara. You're going to want to avoid clickbait, sensationalism, get rich quick schemes. And if you bought Trump coin, I don't know. You can pretty much kiss that money goodbye, but I could be wrong. Um, Techniques and tips. Be long-term. Don't get caught up in the minutia of day-to-day trading and news. it's not worth your cortisol. So if you're like checking the stocks every day, checking the news every day, checking your bank account every day, it's probably stressing you out. And it's just like, can you set it and forget it? Stick with what you know, right? I know this works for me. Go for it. Stick with quality, right? Is one choosing something like, a fast food restaurant to like, oh, like, like cheap and quick versus like, hey, like, this is kind of a nice restaurant. I feel good. There's spaciousness here. Like the waiter, like, feels good. It's family owned. Cool. Affordable versus cheap. So, someone might say it's a really cheap stock, or that's like a really cheap investment. I don't find cheap to be a good word to use in my vocabulary. I prefer something like affordable. Hey, this is affordable. It's not a penny stock. It's not 1 cent a share. This stock is like $20 a share. They've been around 50 years. Cool. Only invest in what you're willing to lose, right? The reality is, it's like something investments can look like different ways too. And I'll add here, it's like when I worked in film, I purchased two used monitors that we would use on film sets, and I would rent them out to people. And so like I was in the community, and so like people always needed a monitor. And those monitors, they brought me in supplemental income. And I knew at any moment someone might break those monitors, or they could just, someone could drop them, or they just might stop working. And so that was something I was aware of. And like, would it be worth me doing the insurance claim on those or just having to buy new ones? So when it comes to any investment, yeah, like acknowledge that there's risk, whether it's something you're buying, gold, like, hey, I bought some gold. Well, the price of gold just plummeted. Boop. But actually gold's doing pretty good right now, but I think it's peaked. Um, stock sector diversification can be overstressed and sometimes can be overrated, and there's a balance to that. Avoid emotional decisions of fear and greed. Oh man, like this just popped, gonna cash out. Or, oh man, this dropped, I'm gonna pull out before I lose everything. Like, hey, like, look at the long term of things and base that off of your decisions. What happens if you take the emotion out of a lot of these things? And invest in what you're comfortable with when starting out. Starting with 10% of your after-tax monthly paycheck can be a good start. Nothing that will create stress or instability. And that's it. Oh, I did really good on time. Want to dive deeper? Send me an email, josh@brooklynbalance.org. I'm also on various social medias, but I'm pretty good at email. And, if you'd like to follow up with me, give me a shout. Feel free to take a screenshot, but everyone is going to receive a recorded version of this as well. So, now, I welcome questions. We covered a lot of ground here. And sometimes these things can feel a little overwhelming or stressful. Maybe you feel a little confused or upregulated right now. Maybe you feel a little disassociated or fatigued. Or maybe you feel really good and excited and you're like, okay, great. I'm ready to start saving. I'm ready to get out of debt. I'm ready to change my perspective. Maybe let's just do a harvest from a few people here. Would anyone like to unmute themselves and just share what's alive for them or ask a question.
I'd love to ask, I'm just curious, what is it you wish you did like 5, 10 years earlier for your financial health?
From today, 5, 10 years from today,
Yeah, aside from like buying a ton of Bitcoin or something that you wish you knew that was going to play out, but for your mental health, for
I would tell myself, don't sell. There's been a lot of investments where I'm like, okay, great, this is done well. And I sold it and it continued to do well. And if I were to do the math on, what I lost by selling and like, yeah, I held it. I held it maybe for like 2, 5 years, maybe 10 years. And I would say, hey, like, just keep going. Like, unless I need that money to do something with it, an emergency, I would tell myself, don't sell, just be long term, just let it chill. Who else? Yeah, John, go for it.
Hey, this was really great. I really enjoyed the reframing because, I find myself saying the top layer a lot. And right now, the reason why I joined this is because um, last month and this month, I've actively started to change my relationship with money. Reaching out to folks for some help and speaking to an advisor and like really addressing my budget and debts. And it has been a scary process. A lot of anxiety is coming up because I'm being faced with what I've been ignoring for a long time. So your reframes have were really insightful for me because, as you know, Josh, I have children, and they're like, "Oh, Dad, can we go to Chick-fil-A today, or can we do it this day?" And normally I would go like every single day, but that adds up. So now I've been telling them, "Oh, it's not in the budget right now. Let's eat something at home." But some of those other things that you listed, I feel will be better for me to say as I also educate my children around the relationship with money because the way that I raised them, we just spend money left and right, and now it's a job because I'm working on myself and my kids. So I just want to say thanks. Those reframes really helped me out and going to help me with my language as I continue to educate myself and my kids.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing. And I really appreciate you being here. And, like I value our relationship. Like, I mean, we've been through some stuff. And like I know you. And so like hearing you say like that's not in the budget right now, right? It's like I want to ask you, how could you even reframe that to your kids, knowing now what you know or seeing this?
Yeah. I'm not going to answer that on the spot, but it's something to think about. And
Okay.
I'll reach out to you. I'll reach
Okay,
out to
cool.
you. Yeah. Thank you. It's definitely
Yeah,
something to think about.
yeah, definitely for sure. And it's like, if we look at things like we're healing ancestral trauma, like, are we passing this on, right? Are we passing our shit onto our kids? And how can we, boom, push it the other way? So, like, you're doing great stuff, and like, I really see how much you love and care for your kids. And like, you know, I know big things are coming for you. Angela.
Hi, thanks so much for everything today. I think something that's helpful or that I'm like taking from this is just like not being as fear-based about my future, and seeing things in terms of like, okay, it's doable to put aside a little money every month as opposed to like, I'm never Yeah, you want to get down. Instead of I'll never retire. Yeah, so just kind of what can I do that's empowering? Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for letting me know. Thanks for sharing.
Can I go?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm curious, like a little bit, because I'm the kind of guy that used to have stability, financial stability for a long time, like one paycheck, and that like that's easy for me. That's like what I'm used to. Now I'm kind of going through a transition where, like kind of like doing a hard restart about money and the way that I work for other people, like transitioning to working for myself. And the point that like I'm struggling with is like that it occurs to me like I'm gonna have to be generating money from a bunch of different sources. And just the thought of that is just overwhelming for me. What would you recommend?
I'm not sure what to recommend in short, just from that, because I imagine there is a lot more to the situation. And what I'm feeling is that there's stress and that there's anxiety. And so it's, you're aware, you're attuned to that at this time, and you're thinking about it. And so you're already moving in the right direction. And so, it can look like, well, where am I now? Where do I need to start prioritizing my time, efforts, and energy? And also, if I'm putting my time, efforts, and energy in that, is there going to be the return on investment that I need to sustain? And then also I like to do a life audit of myself every once in a while. So I document everything I have a subscription for or spend money on, and I ask myself, do I want this or do I need this? And so it's just, again, it's that rock, right? And what is all the weight from that rock from? And are we adding more weight to it? Or are we letting weight go? Or are we able to just build our own muscle from carrying the lightness of the rock over time? So uh, there's like a lot more I could say about this, and I feel like we would have to like dig into more specifics on the situation. But does like that little bit I've just shared here, like, what is
Um,
that for you?
the second part, I believe I'm already doing. Like I basically went through everything and evaluated and restructured just my whole life, like in terms of expenses, on what I'm spending money and how I'm spending it. On the first part, I'm just blinking for a second on what it was that you said. But that, like, I heard some value. I'm gonna have to go back to what it was, unless if you don't mind, just like repeating that.
The it's the audit of things, which it sounds like you're doing.
Yeah, that I already did.
And it's also, if we're carrying the rock, are we adding more weight to it? Or are we letting the weight go slowly? Or are we carrying the rock and we're just building muscle and getting stronger and stronger because it's the same weight?
Right.
So we're
To me, that was connected to the second part. I think that the first part was kind of like what you were saying, like evaluating like what's my return on investment. Because like,
right.
yeah, that was the thing that yeah. So that was very helpful for me. Because like I have a lot of points of interest and things that I'm pretty good at, and monetizing on it and knowing where I want to focus on, that's been a bit of a struggle. So like in terms of like kind of narrowing it down and knowing where I actually want to spend my time.
Right. So,
That's helpful.
for me, it's like a little bit of experimenting will help me. It's like if I'm interested in three things, I'll test out those three things. And then if two of those things, there's no return on investment, there's no bites, nothing hit, but one of them got some interest, start to pull the string and go in that direction. Okay, cool, this is working. It's people are resonating with it. It's pulling in a little bit now. How can it get better over time?
Thank you, Joshua.
Yeah, you're welcome. Happy to chat on the side with you too
I'd love that.
about this. Yeah.
Yeah, I relate to that. I left my corporate job and steady paycheck in 2018 to become a matchmaker and then a dating coach. And I love it. And it's been awesome. And I've made some money, but it's just not enough to sustain myself. And it's like so hard to do everything and all the advertising and all the sales and all this and all that. And I recently found a job that I think I'm going to start soon. And I'm like, okay, I need the paycheck. I need the job. And it's a job where I'm just going to go and get paid for what I do and get sales commission. And it's like, I'll keep doing what I'm doing on the side, but I can't keep, not making enough. And it's that balance, right? Of trying to figure out like how much can I push and chase the dream and that artistry of it versus like the practicality. So I don't know. I just related to what you were saying. I don't know your name, YO.
Yehuda.
So, Whitney, a book I read that really gave me some really good insights on how to improve being self-employed and to be in service is a book called The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. And there's some really great takeaways from that book, automation and outsourcing. And so it's like, I can go on Fiverr.com and I can have a virtual assistant do a task that would take me 8 hours to do, and they could do it in half that for, X amount of money. And so I'm freeing up that time for myself so I can be creative. I can be the manager. I can be out resourcing myself and networking and my high, putting the things that are more important out there, freeing up my time. And so if there's something like marketing or, just like calendaring, outsourcing, investing in outsourcing can be something to try because if it frees up time, if it reduces stress, you'll be able to put your efforts elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been trying with that, but I'm still figuring out, but I'm not going to give up on it. I'm just going to go to my job and do that and hopefully and still continue doing what I'm doing because I love it. It feels like a calling. And maybe at some point the the tipping point will happen and it can be a full-time thing.
Yeah, totally. And there's balance in that too. It's, hey, like I need the full-time job and start to plant seeds for the side business until the side business becomes profitable enough to sustain me in my lifestyle. For sure.
Yeah, but thank you for this today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much for coming. Anyone else?
Joshua, is it okay if I make a recommendation for like a book that really just like gave me a whole new perspective? Are you comfortable?
Absolutely.
So it's a short book. It's called The Science of Getting Rich. It was a book that was written in 1910. And I've never seen a book that is that short and down to the point and is like super, super clear about instructions. And has the science precision for it. And I feel like I mean, it's a manifestation book. And I really enjoyed it. I read it with like 4 or 5 of my friends already. Like every day I have like 5-minute readings with them. And it's just like, feels like it's really making a big difference for me and allowing me to manifest other aspects besides for also richness and money, and to bring into my life. So it's like a very cool technique, and I would recommend that.
Nope. I'm going to check it out. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a free book. It's like because it's from over 100 years ago.
Cool. Okay, great. Seems like a really good place to end. Yeah, we had a nice full 1 hour. Thank you all so much for coming. Have a great rest of your day. I look forward to hearing and seeing you all soon.